On this week's episode, we have the powerful Dr. Vanessa and Dr. David. So thank you so much, Dr. Vanessa, coming on the show. Appreciate you. Thank you, Dr. David, for coming on in. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much for coming. You're both amazing, power couple in so many ways, and we'll talk about that. I really want to dig deep and kind of find out what brought you to this point in your life and kind of the trials, tribulations you did and going through life, building your business, and what made you successful, and share it with our audience. So you have an interesting story of how you got into chiropractic. Can you share with the viewers and how that all unfolded?
Yeah, absolutely. When I first went to a chiropractor, it was how a lot of people originally go to chiropractors, is they have like a car accident or something. And I went to just the closest chiropractor around. I was in high school, so we went to this chiropractor that my family had gone to in the past, and I was getting adjusted regularly, weekly, and then I went to college, and I went to college for dance.
Okay.
And so I was using my body all the time, and I got there and I thought to myself, man, I should really find a chiropractor to go see. And there was a chiropractor that was at a health fair at our school, and I went and talked to him. He had a really great vibe, and I started seeing him. Throughout school, he eventually was like, what are you going to do after dance school? And I was like, well, I want to be a dancer. And he's like, okay, sure, cool.
Didn't have a lot of belief that transpired for you.
Right.
Could have been recruiting you too, maybe.
Yeah. Well, at that point, it was more like he could tell I was getting burnt out a little bit, and I was getting kind of over it. I had changed directions in the program. I stopped doing choreography, and I turned more to what was called body science motion. So I was heading in the direction of some sort of therapy field where I was going to be helping people, whether it was dance therapy, physical therapy, chiropractic, whatever.
Okay.
And so at that point, he was like, and I had never been to a physical therapist at that point, so I don't know why I thought I was going to be a physical therapist, but And he was like, all right, well, you need to come to this seminar with me this weekend. It's in Atlanta. I'm like, what? Okay.
Were you living in Georgia at that time?
No, this was in New York City.
So you were in New York City. You said come to Atlanta for the weekend.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
I was like, okay,
yep.
Let's do that. Let's
so you did it.
I did it.
Okay.
Came here, and this chiropractic seminar was not about like how to do chiropractic. It was about the philosophy and the mentality and why chiropractors heal from the inside out and how your body is doing the work on its own.
Okay.
And like the chiropractor is just releasing the innate intelligence within the body to allow that to occur. And
more of a holistic versus passing out pills, medicines, to really heal yourself.
Yeah, and this was always like what I thought in my mind anyway, as far as being a dancer and being very in touch with my body. I was like, look, I don't need to be taking all of these drugs or I never really got into that.
Sure.
So this was the direction I decided to go. So at that point, we came back to New York, and he's like, all right, so when are you starting school? And I was like, well, where's the closest one?
Sure.
Thinking like, I'm going to go to a school in New York.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, well, it's like Ithaca. So like upstate New York.
So is that a couple hours or so?
Yeah, and I'm a Southern girl, and I wasn't going to the tundra to go
It's cold.
where they rent skis out of the like bookstore.
Yeah. Okay. So not going to be the climate that you wanted to build a business, live in.
Yeah.
You knew that right away. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he was like, well, the best chiropractic school in the world is in Marietta, Georgia, and I was like, well, I guess that's it. But I wasn't ready to leave New York, so I stayed for another year and worked. I was a personal trainer for a while there, and
always
really
fitness, body conscious, always something to do. It all kind of came together.
Yeah, it was like teaching people how to use their body and how to better their health.
Sure.
Absolutely. So I wasn't gonna leave New York right away, but once I finally decided, I was
about a year later decided to come down. And so what was that transition like kind of physically, mentally making that move? You said you're from the South. Are you from Georgia?
I'm from New Orleans.
New Orleans, okay. Yep. No, I love New Orleans. And so you came down to Georgia. What year was it that you moved down for school at Life? Is it Life University?
Yep.
2011. 2011. Okay. And so for David, did y'all connect before coming down to Georgia, or did you meet in New York or meet here at school?
We did.
Okay.
We met beforehand up in the Northeast. I'm from New Jersey originally.
Got it.
So,
Okay. Nice.
But we met through powerlifting, so through strength training
Gotcha.
and that kind of thing. Her with personal training. She had established her own team of people that she was training with, and we met at various meets over time, and then got an opportunity to say, hey, it's easy for me to travel the city. I'd love to come visit you sometime and kind of do some weekend warrior type visits and things like that. Go train and,
That's awesome.
and hang out. And I got to experience the city, and we got to spend some time together. And then she said, hey, I'm moving to Georgia, she's like, I don't know if you're trying to follow me, you don't have to. It's not like anything like that. And
kind of gave you the option.
Right. It was kind of like, hey,
there's always an option.
Was there really an option? Yeah.
Right. No, there was actually. So, and then I was working currently at that point in time in the funeral industry. So I was a practitioner of mortuary science, working with families and things during grief and bereavement.
Sure.
And that process. And when I would visit her a couple times when she moved to Georgia, and finally I said, I'd love to move down here and be closer to you, and came here, and then started working in that field originally when I moved here.
So you were also, and still are, a very big proponent of health, fitness, big into powerlifting and enhancing yourself, and so chiropractic kind of made sense as well when you started looking at that from the funeral director type industry.
Right. Well, when I moved here, the industry, the group that I worked with, it didn't run anyway like the firm I worked with in New Jersey, and they really pushed my hours and my limit. And you're up in the middle of the night a lot of times. You're working a lot of long hours.
Sure.
So they didn't really put in the same systems as the place I worked for in New Jersey to keep me from burning out. So it was getting to that point. And I also had a teacher early on in my undergrad, a chemistry professor, who told me, she said, you should go into a holistic field. She said that to me. She said, I think that would be great for you. Yep. I think that's a good direction for you to head. And while mortuary is, in a sense, I get the opportunity to connect with people that way and help them heal in that sense by really getting to know and help them to bereave their loved one. After I was starting to get burnt out with work here, Vanessa said to me, you should think about maybe coming to chiropractic school. And she told me a lot about the philosophy. My undergrad studies were in philosophy and religion, with biology as well. And so once I heard the philosophy, it really made sense from a natural philosophy and understanding the body and the way kind of the world works. Sure. And I said, you know what, that sounds like a great idea. It really sounds like something I'd be into, along with this early mentor who said, hey, this might be the right field for you.
So it sounds like the universe, in a sense, could have had plans potentially in terms of connecting both of you, chiropractic, powerlifting. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it that it seems like it's kind of hard to ignore those indications of maybe this could have been destined to have happened, right? Who knows? But as far as getting to Georgia, establishing now into the chiropractic and kind of learning a whole new industry, but something you kind of have an affinity towards because of how you operate, what were the next steps in would it fit? How long was school for both? I don't know how long chiropractic school is, and then did you jump right into working for somebody else to learn, or did you go right into opening up your own practice?
So chiropractic school is about 3.5 to 4 years long. So after that, then throughout that and the last portion of it, you do an internship. Okay. So our internship we did with a doctor in Connecticut. His practice was very high volume. They see up to 150 to 200 people a day.
That sounds like a lot of people.
Yes.
So there are a lot of chiropractors that have office space, so to speak, or how does that look? Are there other people to help out with that?
His office was huge. Okay. He had a huge center room that had 6 tables in it, in the shape of an L, and people would just get down like this, and you would go around adjusting them. Yep. He also had private rooms for people who were on their 1st through 12th visit, where you did see them in a room by themselves to get them used to what was going on and do a little bit more education with them. And in their initial exam and stuff too, in those private rooms. But he did a lot of work with mental health patients. So there's a lot of depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, things like that. And we really found our passion, like working with people with those issues.
Sure.
And then when we came back to Georgia, we thought we were going to be leaving, going somewhere else to practice, because neither of us are from here.
Yeah.
But we had such a community here that we really loved.
Sure.
And when every place we went to look for office space and a place to live, nothing was like clicking for us. We weren't finding that spot. So we decided to stay. And at that point we were like, well, let's work with an office at the time. So we were independent contracting for a while. Which was great because you're like running your own business out of someone else's office, so your overhead is less.
Yep.
But at the end of 2017, we decided, all right, 2018, we're going to start fresh in our own space.
Yep.
So that's when we decided to branch out.
Thank
you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So now Beyond Chiropractic.
Right.
How does Beyond Chiropractic operate? I know you said that you work with folks that have different, even mental illnesses and different things. And so what is in my industry, like a target market, right? But what does the prototypical client look like for you? What types of patients do you like? I'm sure you can help a lot of people, but what do you prefer, if you have a preference in terms of the type of patient, and just kind of the whole day-to-day process of running the business, kind of how that's been for you?
Well, she's talked a lot about mental health and things like that. So anxiety, depression, these kind of clients, a lot of times they may be on medications they do not want to be on. A lot of those medications also don't allow them to necessarily feel the way they want to feel, right? They help to kind of mute the symptoms that they're dealing with. So we've had a few people come to us that say, hey, I'm tired of these meds. I'd really like to get to a point where I can wean off of them. And so those folks, for sure. PTSD happens to be a big one as well, because the nervous system is so ramped up and it's constantly playing some of those scenes that these people have interacted with. They're causing their nervous system. We feel like they have to be on the run. Yeah. And so the work that we do helps us to get right to the nervous system and helps to actually calm that and actually break that pattern, even if it's only for the time they're in the office. And then as they start to get more exposure to that, like reps in the gym, then the nervous system begins to realize it can stop that on its own.
So you're making a real big difference in people's lives. I mean, the quality of their life, from even if it's momentary initially when they're coming into the office, and if it's a 10, 15, 20 minute kind of thing, at least they have that reprieve, and now you're building process and almost changing, we talked about this in another episode, but like loops in their brain where they're learning how to, change kind of how they feel and how they operate, and you're able to do that with what you do. And so that's a huge noble effort, and it's a huge undertaking to be able to change somebody, right, physically and mentally. And so walking through building so you have the human element, you have the people that you want to, and now you have the business you have to run to be able to serve those people. So starting Beyond Chiropractic January 2018 and managing it now, what has the process been like from start up to now? We're nearing the end of 2018. How have you started? Have you scaled a little bit? Have you gotten new equipment? Have you built partnerships? Like, what have you done in your business to grow the business?
Well, we've done a lot of learning in the first year of owning a business. You go into practice and you learn all the things you don't know. That's right.
That's right.
And that's very scary and exciting all at the same time, depending on your outlook. You know, and you have both of those things, and they're both very healthy. And what we've definitely gotten equipment, and sort of like what that said, but we had that equipment at our independent contract too. You know, we just get to bring that with us over. Getting the physical location, getting our systems in place. Like, our systems had to come together quickly because at the other location, at the independent contract, we were using their systems.
When you say systems, because I want to kind of tease this out a little bit, are there specific systems you're using that are helping run the business, whether it's managing appointments, whether it's client databases, any of that stuff? What are the type of things that you're using?
So we're using what's called Platinum, which is like a EHR, but it's also an appointment scheduling system. We have like an answering service, something that someone that answers the phone for us, who's a person you can actually talk to.
Awesome.
Yeah, which is nice. Like, we didn't have that originally, and we realized we were missing a lot of calls.
So that's been a big game changer to connect with the people that need your help.
Yeah, absolutely. So people can call either and change appointments, or they can call and make an appointment. New patients can call and talk to a person instead of getting
machine,
or leave a message,
leaving
a message, and us having to get back to them. They can actually make the appointment, and then we can.
It's more efficient for you as business operators. You can tend to the business. You can see more patients versus having to play the back and forth of follow up on a voicemail and someone's not there. It's more efficient to do it that way. So I have limited knowledge about chiropractic. I do believe in it myself, and my wife is very much so a believer in it. It's helped her a ton. I only know a little bit about some of the actual practices, and like there's like the Gonstead method and all this stuff. And so outside of the different methods that there are, or the different techniques that people use, and some people might be equipment heavy, and some people probably may not do a lot of equipment. How does your practice differ from the chiropractor down the street?
So we focus on something called neurostructural optimization. So instead of the idea of having to fix a problem, what we want to do is we want to get into the nervous system and begin to optimize it so that it can, again, break those loops and on its own though. Because the body's all about survival.
Sure.
So even though those loops are its way of surviving really, but with everything we've got going on, we're realizing that we don't always have the tools we need to help us move through some of those issues that we're dealing with, whether they be physical, mental, or emotional.
Sure.
So those are some of the other components too, right? A lot of times people think chiropractic, physical, I have a musculoskeletal complaint. And we also take it a step further sometimes, especially clients who are like, I've been everywhere and I can't really understand what's going on. No one's been able to say, this is your problem or this is the issue you're dealing with. And so we try to bring that mental, emotional component in because those add stressors onto the body and the nervous system. And your nervous system is how you perceive the world, how you interact in the world. Yep. And so it's not always, I've got this physical trauma that happened and then led to this. Typically, say you get hit by a car, there's always an emotional component, a mental component that goes with that. Yep. Some people have fear of getting back behind the wheel and these kind of things, right? Those things all play a role. And so we want to be able to help people on all those fronts from a holistic approach. So that's one way that we differ. The technique that we use to assist with that falls under a paradigm of healthcare called reorganizational healing. Okay. And it's the idea that you start here at A, right? You're born, and we have these things that happen in our life, and then you're at B, and so now maybe you have some issue or something you're dealing with. And what a lot of times is if we're taking a restorative approach, we're taking you back to A. Well, all the patterns and habits and things that led you to the issue you're currently dealing with are all still there. Sure. If we just bring you back to A. Yeah. What we want to do is we want to optimize where you're at now, learn from some of the things, be able to learn from our pain, our movement, different aspects of our life, and then be a totally brand new version of ourselves that's ready to make new choices, new habits, and new changes in our lifestyle.
Wow. Wow. So that's a lot. There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on.
Must be some in my field, there's a lot of ongoing education, continuing education, even credits that I have to do every single year, and a lot of stuff I have to revamp, and kind of redo licenses and make sure they're active and up to date and stuff like that. So is there a lot of ongoing education, a lot of learning, a lot of kind of growth?
Definitely. You have to definitely continue with your continuing eds yearly for chiropractic, but a lot of that is not specific. Like you have to do certain things in your to get your license renewed, but as far as like self-learning, you have to keep up to date on that, and you have to be constantly doing the work on your own too. Like Dr. David and I still train each other and get adjusted weekly, if not bi-weekly. Like we get taken care of, and we take care of each other often.
So you believe in what you're preaching, so to speak.
Right.
You practice what you preach. So I've been a part of a company, a startup that my wife and I started years ago, and working together, and we found that we actually work really well together, and we played off each other well, and kind of, it's helped us in our marriage where I may be lacking, she's strong, and vice versa. So in working together, you have a startup, which can be a huge task for anyone. What's the dynamic been? What have you learned? How do you complement each other? And like, what is this process kind of showing you in terms of being business partners and married?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one of my things is, I definitely have a knack for a lot of the office management, the systems, right? Saying, let's go ahead and this is the process we want to see happen. Everybody that comes in, we need to make sure these certain things happen so that one, we can take care of them, and then two, we can keep track of where everything's going, where we are in the process with each person, as well as some of the just the overall callback process and things of that nature. How do we continue to stay in touch with people, even if they didn't join up with us or come to us for help, and how do we continue those efforts? I find Dr. Vanessa's highly skilled in the care itself, as well as our social media and things like that. She helps me keep that kind of stuff flowing and making sure those things are corralled correctly, as well as a lot of our marketing efforts saying, hey, we need to do this, or this is a way we need to think about getting patients in the door and work with people, so that they know what we offer. How do we continue to get the word out properly? So from that, it's a really good dynamic that way, because I don't feel totally overwhelmed with all the marketing, where she's doing a lot of that on the side with me, and then I can help make sure the office runs smoothly in that regard. So
play well off of each other, complement each other's strengths. And so on the flip side of that, what has been a big roadblock, speed bump in starting a business? I mean, there's so many that can pop up, and you're in such a specialized, experience-heavy industry where you have to be on your game and all that. So running a business, being doctors, helping people, what has been something that you've had to learn, in the startup phase of your business, or an obstacle you've overcome so far?
We were talking about this morning. One of the most difficult things for us, we believe, is that we're very counterculture, the type of chiropractic that we do. It's not traditional chiropractic. It's not the twisting, cracking, popping. It's not the instant pain relief we'll see you next time you're in pain.
Gotcha.
That is not us. So it's hard for some people to come in the door that just read chiropractic and think, oh, I'm just going to get fixed and I'm going to leave and I'm going to come back later.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the type of chiropractic that we do, it definitely builds on itself, and it teaches your body and nervous system how it trains it to help itself. Yeah. And you have to have constant repetition with that in order to grow and change and move from B to C to D and continue to progress, and for your nervous system to be optimized. So that's been, I think, our biggest struggle, is educating. Yeah. So we're constantly coming up with new ways to do that and to teach people and get the word out about why it is what we do. And, yeah.
It's, to me, I'm into fitness, and I believe in, if I can be holistic and not reach for a bottle of, medicine or pills, that's how I want to live my life and teach my kids how to live. And we try to eat organic food. We have our own garden. We raise our own vegetables and all that stuff. And so really understanding that it could go a level deeper, and you could be making more of an impact to somebody versus getting the back crack or whatever that is. And so I think that's a huge compliment to society, number one. So it's good to be counterculture. I try to lead that way in my business. So as far as, we talked about power couple kind of tongue in cheek a couple times, but it's really true. And I want to talk to the audience about one of your, and this is a passion that you both have. So you had met at a couple of, I don't want to dumb it down, but weightlifting meets or Olympic lifting things. What are y'all into that makes you the uber power couple, if you could share that with the audience?
Right, so powerlifting is the best of your squat, bench press, and deadlift. So it's a single repetition max. And we met through that, right, through competitions and things, through our passion about learning how to be better at that, learning how to move our bodies better in that way. Of course, the goal is to move as much weight as you can. And it's interesting, too, a lot of people think, oh, you're chiropractors, why do you want people stressing their spines that way? And we're not saying it's necessarily for everyone, and it's not necessarily the route for everyone. But when it's done right, done safely, and done properly, you can definitely protect your spine. There are methods that we continue to look at and understand on how to do that and how to best do that for people. But aside from that, just the sport itself being our passion, we're highly involved with the local organizations and on the national organization with volunteering, whether it be keeping the lifters safe, right? There's spotters and loaders to make sure, okay, if that person is unable to complete that repetition, that there's someone there to help them with the weight, right?
Yeah.
Refereeing, making sure people are making the technical standards so that there's a standard of this is a good lift and that's not a good lift, or as far as the form and the completion of the events. So and that's just always kind of been, as far as staying along the lines of strength and health and fitness has always been something that I've been passionate about, even through high school, training for sports, college. I played lacrosse in both arenas there, and so it was always something I was doing with my body. So it just seemed like a natural progression for me to continue in some way that way.
I got into powerlifting a little bit differently. I was a dancer my whole life, so I did ballet, tap, jazz, modern.
Big control over your body.
Yeah.
Like it's incredible. A lot of athletes at a high level have taken like ballet and done different things because the body control and the strength and all that. So it's crazy. So how did you get into it?
Yeah, I mean, after college, I told you a little bit about how I got into personal training, and I was working at a gym, and there was just a trainer there that was like, I'm gonna do a powerlifting meet, let's get a team together and do it. So about 6 of us like trained for this powerlifting meet, and we all started lifting, and I was able to like squat 215 pounds, bench 115, deadlift 280, and
right out the gates?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like that was when I first started lifting, and I was able to lift that much, and it was like a surprise to me because I'd never really lifted weights before. And I'd only moved my physical body. And, but dancing for like 20 years of my life, that made me a super strong individual physically. And after that, I just loved it. It was like a complete 180 in a sense, where I went from being so subjectively judged as a dancer to being completely objectively judged. Like, it's the weight on the bar, it's a number, it goes up or it goes down. Like, and it's all on you, so you gotta do it or not, right? Yeah. And so there's a standard or a test, and if you could share this with the viewers in terms of like body weight versus weight moved. What's the name of that?
There's a Wilks coefficient.
The Wilks formula.
The Wilks formula. I know you're both super into the science of this, and you're super humble. I've seen some of behind the scenes stuff, but can you share what your Wilks numbers are, like with where you stand? And I want you to get to brag a little bit. I'm forcing you to do this because you're both extremely strong. And I walked in there working out with them one time, and I was impressed. Like, unbelievable. Didn't know what to expect, but like both extremely strong. So Wilks numbers, weights that you've moved, like some of your recognitions or awards, things you've accomplished in the powerlifting world.
Well, I can't say that I have too much of a reputation for that. In today's world,
it's all relative.
Right. At the competition we assisted with this weekend, there was a gentleman. His Wilks was 400,
570 something.
Yeah,
just for some comparison.
546 points was his, right?
What is a normal Wilks for someone? And then like obviously 546 sounds outrageous.
Okay, mine's 391.
Okay.
And mine is just over 400, so I am stronger than Dave.
Oh my goodness.
Pound for pound,
right? So it measures the differential between body weight and anything you can lift above. Is that kind of what that is? Okay.
Yeah. And you can also compare all the weight classes across the board with it.
Awesome.
So like the lightest lifter to the heaviest lifter, as well as between male and female.
Yeah, that's how they choose the best overall lifter of the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're sitting at 391?
Right.
Okay, and you're sitting at 4...
Right around 4.
4, okay, so still pretty close to each other. And so what are your best lifts each and things that you excel at in terms of the bench press or the squat or the deadlift?
My best lift is my deadlift.
Okay.
So my best deadlift is 352, and I weigh about 138 pounds.
Yeah, that's incredible. And for yourself, best lift?
My best lift number-wise is the deadlift, but I would say the one that I'm most proficient in is the squat. I have a 468-pound squat, but as far as like my comfort, my ability to like really feel good about my technique and form is in the squat. So.
And I can, you brought it up, technique and form. I mean, from the limited knowledge I had from doing stuff on my own, some training that I've had, the one training session we had together, I learned so much. I learned so much about even just the mechanics and how to do things and just things I would never even think about doing. And so it's impressive to see like how much science goes into it, how much really it's not just go lay down, move a bar, you're done. And you even have like a little and I don't want to dumb this down, there's an app that you're using and it teaches you like training. You can train at a certain frequency or you can train at a certain weight. What is that app that you're using?
Yeah, so just like we use systems in the office, we use systems in our powerlifting as well. So I use what's called reactive training systems. Okay. So it's going to be based on the day. So you go in, you do your top set, whether that's a single for the day or a set of 3 or whatever. Okay. And then from that number, you learn what your estimated 1 rep max is for that day. And then you can do your drop sets based on that number. Okay. So I don't have to go into the gym and do a max rep to know what my max is because there's math involved and it can tell you like what you could do on that day if you were to hit like a 10 out of 10 RPE basically.
Using that system, what kind of gains have you seen? How long have you been using the system, and what kind of increases in load have you seen?
I've been using the philosophy and methodology for a long period of time. I haven't actually been using the app itself. I started using the app in about October of last year, and I've seen my graphs are looking. I mean, they look up and down, up and down, up and down, but they're going in this direction, which is beautiful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, on all three of my competitions.
And then for you, have you noticed any gains by using this methodology and the app to coincide with the training?
Definitely. I mean, the methodology is about being able to say, hey, this is what I've got on this day.
Yeah.
So what it helps to avoid is overtraining.
Right.
Which is huge in any sport.
That's exactly it. And also gets you to a point where it says, when you've gotten to a point where everything seems to be kind of on a downward trend, you need to, hey, next week we need to take a break week. And then, guess what? We're going to start at the bottom again and start to build it back up.
It's smarter, and it's more efficient, and you're going to get better use of your body now, and hopefully later on in life, because you haven't burnt yourself out, you're training smarter, and everything you're doing, it just goes hand in hand. And so,
well, and just another note, and this actually, because it's interesting, the work that we do in powerlifting with this type of methodology is very similar to what's happening with someone's nervous system in the office, which is very cool for us. Yeah, because what's happening is we're looking at emerging strategies that you have occurring while you're powerlifting, right? So, okay, hey, you respond very well to this type of volume, or you respond well to this type of assistance exercise or something like that. Well, when someone's nervous system is beginning to optimize, they start to learn what strategies work for them in their life.
Okay.
Right? They may come back to us and say, you know what? I've always had a problem changing my diet in this way, but after I've been under care, I'm able to eliminate dairy because I know it doesn't sit with me well, and I'm losing the cravings for that kind of thing. Or I've struggled to get into the gym, or even just figure out what works for how I move my body, but I'm starting to find that and I'm going with it.
Yeah.
And so it's very cool because they have a lot of overlap.
There's a lot of overlap. And so you mentioned diet, and this is a good segue into nutrition. So what have you found in terms of style of eating, frequency, just because it's very helpful for people that are usually operate at a high level. You have business owners, you have people that train outside of that for a specific sport, and a lot of times nutrition can be a deciding factor. Most athletes say that training is like 10% body and 90% what you put in your mouth, and those numbers are obviously just random numbers, but they lean very heavy on nutrition. So how is nutrition for both of y'all, and what does that look like?
So I like to abide by the philosophy of just eat as natural as possible.
Okay.
And I'm a very innate eater. Like, I don't want to be on any sort of regimented plan.
Sure.
I know that works for a lot of people, and that does get you tremendous results. But I know that, like, there are days I wake up where I am not hungry, and I'm not going to force myself to eat if I don't feel
listening to yourself.
If I don't feel like I need to be eating. Like, fasting is a completely legitimate thing to do.
I agree.
And if you are an animal, which we are, animals don't always eat.
Right.
You know, if they're dealing with some sort of injury or sickness, something going on, if they have a fever, like I actually had a fever all weekend and I didn't have any sort of appetite, so I didn't eat anything. All I felt like I needed was like salt and water,
hydration,
and so that's what I did, and I feel so much better today. And I didn't take a drug, I just
listen to your body, did the right thing.
Yeah.
So similar protocol for you, David, or
it's actually a little different for me.
Okay.
I work a little bit more structured, where if I'm thinking about my dietary needs, where if I'm going to train in the afternoon, I clump specifically like carbohydrates right before and right after training within
for energy stores.
1 to 3 hours of both areas. But earlier in the day, if I eat too much carbohydrates, I can feel it.
Really?
I can feel it in my body,
Okay.
And then I ultimately will see it.
How does it make you feel when you say you can feel it?
I can just feel it like in my literally
bloated.
in my midsection. I feel a little bit more bloated, and like it's in a sense I can tell from my body. It's like I use those carbs when I eat them close to training.
Sure.
And and they help to move my training. So I'm definitely a lot better in the gym when I do that right. And on off days, typically it's just it's very basic as far as protein, some greens and things like that, and very low end carbs, if any at all. So and my carbs would be in that case green leafy vegetables, maybe some fruit or something like that. So I think a lot of time people forget that those are still carbohydrates, So as much greens as you can eat, on an off day works very well for me, along with well-balanced protein. So
healthy, calculated, you understand your bodies, you've worked with them long enough and understand them well enough to where you know what you need, the fuel that you have to put in, or when you don't have to put in fuel, if you're not feeling well. Or we talk about being animals, which we are, right? But, thousands of years ago, we didn't know where our next meal was going to come from, hunter-gatherer type thing, right? And so now we have supermarkets everywhere, we have fast food everywhere, and so it's really kind of being conscious, right, and taking a proactive approach. And maybe, I don't know if lazy is the right word, because sometimes you're traveling, things like that, but really just being mindful of what you put in your body and helps you perform.
Right.
Last piece of business before we jump into some of the other questions here. So when you think about Beyond Chiropractic and you think about what you're doing, it could be on a micro, macro, you're helping people locally, but you're trying to be counterculture and change some beliefs and some ideologies to kind of make people healthier and live better lives. Where do you see the practice taking you in business? 20, 30 years down the road, will you still be practicing chiropractic? Maybe, I don't know, potentially. But what would you, if you could look at it today and say, this is what we would hope to accomplish through the business, what would that look like?
Well, for me, Beyond Chiropractic for me is about exactly what it is, about changing the ideology and beliefs. So what I love is to see it just from here in Marietta, change the culture in that regards. See people living healthier lifestyles, making better choices, and interacting, participating in their everyday community better, right? When you're not road raging down the street, right? you're a better driver. You're more aware of what's going on. Safer, right? Yep. So that's the kind of thing. Is there's definitely always a catalyst. Everything's connected, right?
Sure.
So that's one of my things for it. I haven't really thought too much about what it looks like from maybe a franchise point of view or something like that.
Could be an option.
Right.
Yep.
I do like the idea of being able to be a resource for not just the community, but also for other chiropractors. Students coming out doing similar work to us, or docs that are interested in getting similar work, and being able to help them with the pitfalls and things like that.
That's smart. So a consultant to your constituents, other doctors, and it may be doing speaking engagements or different things where you can pass on the education. That's huge.
Definitely.
What do you see?
I definitely see us growing in the sense that there will be other Beyond Chiropractics. It's the name itself is about going beyond.
Right.
It's about not just chiropractic today, but about chiropractic tomorrow and about your life and your health forever.
Sure.
Yeah.
So jumping into what we call rapid fire here in the show, this is where we get to know you a little bit more and ask just some fun questions to kind of see where you're at today and things that you've done. So Vanessa, current role model or mentor, someone that's impacted you in life or in business?
So I would have to go with Danny Knowles,
okay.
Dr. Danny Knowles. He is a chiropractor that does the technique that we do. He recently just found out that he had a heart valve issue that wasn't discovered early on in life, and he's been living with this his entire life and we all believe because he's been under this type of care.
Really?
And he just had to go in for open heart surgery, and he's recovering amazingly right now because of getting this type of work that we're doing. And he's a role model for us because he has his systems in place, and he's kind of who we're trying to model at the time right now. And we're part of his what's it called? Lifetime Family Wellness practice. Okay. And so he has a Facebook group, he has a podcast as well, and we've been listening to him and learning from him. He's also, his wife Rochelle, she's an amazing public speaker as well. They both practice together, so I like
another power couple.
Yeah.
Exactly
I like their dynamic and how he's very much the voice and she is very much the work.
Okay,
and it's very cool.
They work well together, symbiotic. And so, for you, David, any mentors, role models that have helped you?
Right. So, of course, Dr. Danny Knowles is a big one. He's helping both of us. This is going to go outside because I listen to a lot of podcasts and I'll get into that. But Gary Vaynerchuk, in all honesty, I know he's very brash for a lot of people. I'm from New Jersey. He's from New Jersey, or not originally, but that's where he lived for a long time. He's originally from Russia or that area, Belarus, right? And so, but just the things he's talking about self-awareness, being able to be honest with yourself about what you're doing in your business, and really stepping out there and being able to put yourself out there and not being afraid of
Sure.
that. It's one of the things that, like, with the things we put out on social media, the way we're talking to people, and the fact that we continue to push beyond chiropractic and stay true to our core beliefs about what we think people will benefit from.
Yeah.
Despite what people in chiropractic how they may look at us, what people from the outside, whoever wants to in a sense maybe judge us or look at us differently, because he's just a pit bull in that way. And so every time I listen to him and read some of his things, it very much continues to reiterate that go-getter mentality in me and say, I'm doing this for the right reasons. It's part of my passion. It's part of where I want to be. And so,
and you you stick true to it, and you don't listen to the outside noise, and you want to follow your own kind of dreams together and in unison. And so Gary Vee's a huge touchstone for me, and even starting this show. I mean, he started Wine Library years and years ago, and he believes in documenting and putting stuff out there. And for me, I had been holding on to this idea for a long time, and just listening to some of his stuff, just kind of get it out and do it, and you'll learn as you go. Was a big push in me doing this. And so actually figuring out what that was going to look like, I have a mentor who's a financial advisor out in Omaha, Patrick Tucker. He's amazing. He's an independent financial planner. He's as independent as you can get as a financial planner. And met with him for a mastermind, and just learning how to take an idea that you've had for so long, not be afraid of what the world will think of it, and just put it out there, and people will receive it how they receive it, and just keep moving. So I think that's really huge. So favorite restaurant or food? Yeah.
In the Marietta area.
It can be anywhere in the world. Yeah.
Oh, we were joking about this one, but our favorite restaurant in Marietta is probably Taqueria Tsunami.
I love it.
Love
the Square.
It's one of our favorites.
I love that place.
Yeah. Taqueria Tsunami is really good.
Yeah.
Same for you?
Yeah. I love it. It's like, if it's like, I don't know what else I want to eat tonight or something like that, and it's like, and we need to go grocery shopping the next day or something, it's like, let's do taqueria. Even if it's just like call them up, go in and grab it, because that place is typically slammed.
It's so good. It's so good.
But my favorite food is sushi, which they don't have. But there you go.
Right. And so sushi's kind of hit or miss around here. So you have any favorite spots in Georgia or abroad that you love sushi, the best sushi you've ever had, or anything you want to throw a shout out to locally? No? Sushi? Okay. And then anything that either one of you are reading or listening to for self-improvement, whether it's individually, for the business, just anything, or just even if it's just kind of escapism and you like murder mysteries, whatever it is, anything you're reading or listening to.
I've been really listening to this podcast called Multi-Amory.
Okay.
And it is a podcast about alternative relationship styles as well as bettering your communication.
Which is huge in any relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like it's really helped even with like your relationships with the patients and your relationships with everyone, and how to define boundaries and what boundaries are, and learning like how boundaries are really about your own, like there's something that you can't
beliefs,
you can't put them on anyone else. You can't something you have to step away from if someone crosses your boundary, or else it's no longer a boundary for you.
Yep. And how about yourself, David?
So I said, listen to a lot of Gary. I mean, he's typically always, because he does like little quick ones sometimes. They're like 5 minutes, so I can get that and just a quick amp up. But I just picked up Tony Robbins' Unshakable.
Yeah.
So I have that. Yep. And I'm constantly trying to read, but that just happened to be one that I've had for a little bit now. And so started reading through that and kind of understanding a little bit more about finances too, in the future of my own finances and what that's going to look like moving forward.
He's got a book out, and I think it's Money, Master the Game, and there's another one where he's interviewed a lot of the top financial planners and investment people out there, thought leaders in the world, and so that might be a good read for you if you're into Tony Robbins, if you're into some of that stuff, where the financial side of it breaks down kind of how some of the most successful people in finance have been successful and how they've achieved. So I got a chance to see Tony Robbins and Gary Vee last year here in Duluth, Georgia, and it was amazing. I don't know if you went. Did you go to that?
It was the Achievers, the National Achievers Conference.
Yeah,
I was there.
Probably
did.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was great. I actually almost cried when Gary was talking. I just felt like his emotion. He was unbelievable. And Tony was crazy when he came on. He got the whole crowd going, and we were there for like a 10 or 11 hour day. So by the end of it, like I think Pitbull, no offense to Pitbull, he was coming up and we were like, we got to go home and get these. It's just too much. We're not ready for a concert right now. So.
Yeah, it was one of those opportunities where I said, it's the first time I'm going to do this. So I was able to get a signed picture with Tony. So that was cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so I was like, I put a little bit extra into it.
He's a large man.
Oh my gosh.
Just like
he towers next to me. I was like...
What about a time where either one of you have learned from a client mishap or mistake in your business that's helped change the way you do business for the better?
Well, one, I think it happens all the time, right?
Sure.
And that's
Always
one of the things for everyone watching, to always think about is, right, always look at a situation, good or bad, is something you can learn from.
Sure.
Right? I never like the idea of I failed, it's a learning experience.
Yep.
For me, a big one is, and it's also kind of, it's not really, I don't know if it's a mistake necessarily, but it's something that we picked up quickly was don't try to appease every single person that walks in the door.
Sure.
I found that there are a couple people who say they have an idea of what they want, and we're talking about what we want, and I wasn't able to pick up that we weren't kind of vibing on the same level.
Sure.
And they've dropped off care.
Sure.
Right? And so one of the things is, and it's tough because you're a small business owner, right? Trying to get started. But finding those people that really resonate with what you're trying to offer has really been huge for our, being able to maintain clients, retention in that sense. And I think that's a big thing. And it's tough to be so honest when you're early on, but it's really making a difference. Our practice right now is comprised of people who truly want to be there. They're getting up off the table and saying, "This has helped me today," or I'm seeing so much more from it. So I think that's something that's critical and has helped us.
It's huge,
Yeah, and just not judging someone based on what they've told you or what they look like or what they seem to be at the time, because that the care that you're providing is important and that they need to be seen multiple times a week in the beginning. And a lot of times we're like, oh, well, I don't know if they can afford it. So you're going to cut back on the amount of care you prescribe for them. And that is not doing them any service.
That's right.
So that is something I've learned quickly. You have to do what you truly feel is necessary for them to achieve the results that they want.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think the big thing too is as business people, but also practitioners in our respective fields, we want to change, we want to make an impact, we want to do it with people that we want to do it with. We want to bring in, I call it my client family, where I want to do business with people that I like, that like me. If they're, I always use the term, if they're part of my tribe, they like some of the same stuff I like. And if they don't have to, but if they do, that's cool. You just don't want to, and again, I'll throw my shout out to my coach, Patrick. You don't want to have a PETA or a pain in the ass, right? You don't want someone that doesn't believe in what you're doing. They don't like what you're doing. You just want to be able to, yes, you want to scale the business and you need clients and patience to be able to do that, but at the same time you want to do it with integrity to what you believe in, and you want to do it with people that you like or they can see the value in what you're doing.
It's just funny. It's funny you say that, and you already said ass. So
you're about to say it.
Say whatever you want.
We have a sales gentleman that we work with, and he helps us to communicate better, right? And he always says, you can't be the jackass whisperer.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So at the
elaborate
end of the day,
on that a little bit for the.
Right. So at the end of the day, right, as you're going through your process, right, and if you're ticking off on the side that they didn't understand this aspect, or there's all of a sudden an objection here, an objection there, an objection here, an objection there, as those start to add up, and you're trying to keep that client, maybe you're going to start to bend over backwards on your boundaries, right?
Yep.
And so what happens is after you start to tick too many in the wrong direction, it may be the time for you to say, look, this may not be the best fit for you, but I do have someone who can meet your needs over here, and be able to feed them to a place where they can truly get what they need.
That's right.
Because if they sign up and they become a client, you're not going to be happy taking care of them.
Right, and it's going to affect you, how you operate, maybe your day-to-day, and you're all about optimal performance, optimal health, optimal mental, neurological state, and if someone is dragging you down one way or the other, it's going to be hard to be at those pinnacle points. So as far as, we've talked about passion projects, so to speak, with what you're into, being a power couple, power lifters, power badasses in business. What other hobbies or passion projects, or if you want to touch on the powerlifting, you can, but what are some passion projects or hobbies you're into?
I've got one, in all honesty, and this is something I've thought about for a very long time, and I know I've always been into sustainable farming, which is probably, it may sound like off the wall for just coming out of nowhere with that, but so one of the things is I've been following a lot of these projects around the country where they're starting large either hydroponic or aquaponic systems in old warehouses in New York City, Chicago, and a couple areas.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I love the idea of possibly bringing something like that here to the Metro Atlanta area.
Okay.
Right? So what happens is they've got they're creating these small farms inside of these abandoned buildings. So there's nobody there. They're just taking up space. Right.
Yeah.
And they're working with either local grocery stores or even kitchens and things like that, and making the food more sustainable, easily sourced, right here in your backyard kind of thing, which helps to bring costs down for people and things like that. So I was just reading in Unshakable, was the founder of Forbes magazine said that a business is a lot of times, or for him was about being able to then get into philanthropic purposes.
What can
what can I do with it now?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something that resonates so deeply with me. It's like, yes, I'm a small business owner, but I want to be able to continue to use that to impact others. Whether it's a drive we're running at the office for people to bring in things to give to those in need, or something like that. I want to be able to use it as a vehicle to impact the community, not just as a way for me to make a living.
So what I hear both of you saying is that you want to leave the world a better place, and we need more people like Vanessa and David in this world. So, anything else to add to that in terms of projects or passion, hobbies, stuff like that?
Yeah, we just got our nonprofit established, which is Helping Hands,
Congrats.
Healing Hands.
Right.
And what that does is it allows people who cannot afford the type of care that we provide to come in and receive care. So we are trying to work with like Must Ministries and other types of like non-for-profits that we can help with those specific things like depression, anxiety. We want to help people get back on their feet, and if their nervous systems are operating at a higher level, and that's going to help them achieve their goals in life and upgrade to the next level.
If you could be remembered, either one of you, legacy-wise, something that you want to leave an impact and imprint on the world, what would that be?
You got it.
Okay.
We share it.
So it's kind of like you can give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, or you can teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. That's kind of our message. We're not going to just take you out of pain today. We want to teach you how to listen to your body and how to heal yourself from the inside out.
That's awesome. So as far as people getting in touch with you, we can talk about that. But first, as far as anything you want to plug, anything promotion-wise, or anything where you're giving back that you want to talk about. If not, how can people get in touch with you? If you want to tell them right there at the camera.
Well, our Instagram is one way to follow us and stay in touch and learn about different events that we have coming up. There's a lot of education. We put a lot of things on our Instagram, so that's at Beyond Chiro ATL. And
you can find us on Facebook with at Beyond Chiro ATL as well as beyondchiroatl.com is our website. Phone number is 678-401-6070. Those are the best ways, or you can find us at info@beyondchiroatl.com. Best ways to get in touch with us. You can always check out our newsletter too, constantly trying to send out lots of great information about how you can continue to enhance your nervous system, even if you're not coming into the office.
Yep.
So.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much to the power couple, Dr. Vanessa, Dr. David.
Thank you,
Jesse. Thank you so much for joining this week's show. Catch us next week at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great day.